Kunle, he needs to come and buy some stuff from you, right? Kunle Awolowo. Okay, I know everybody would have read this, but let me read it again because it's quite a good bio. Nkemdi is with over 15 years of industry experience in Africa's largest emerging economy. That's us. Beyond using technology as a transformational tool, she is passionate about empowering the next generation of Africans, which is probably why she's on this talk today. Which is why she's involved in mentorship programs and actively supports hundreds of young people every year through career and business advisory and mentoring programs, such as WeTech, Mara Mentor, Brian Mentors, Spark Mentor. Well, we've conscripted you into the TTBI mentorship program. Because we just realized today from what everybody's saying that mentorship is of so much importance that, you know, and since we're talking about inertia, I mean, you went to school, I didn't really go to school far. So you understand inertia a bit better than I do. And for the very reason, you know, around inertia is the reason why people need mentors. Somebody to just give you that push, somebody to help you moving further, and somebody to stop you if you're moving at breakneck speed and you're about to kill yourself. The younger generation are pretty, I don't believe in luck, I guess pretty blessed is what I would rather say, because some of us did not have this opportunity, at least in the way that it's been afforded the younger people right now. You know, people who were mentored in the past stumbled on it, but now you can actually have a mentor. Maybe it's something you would speak into, you know, what really to expect from a mentor. Because again, some people expect that the mentor is going to open a door or do something for them. You know, maybe you'd speak into that. So without much ado, I'm sure Nkemdi is still going to, you know, tell us a bit more about herself. Nkemdi, the floor is yours, and it's 30 minutes speaking, 15 minutes question and answer, but these guys don't seem to have as many questions. If they have more questions for you, it'll be 15 minutes. If not, you'll be able to speak a lot longer. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm very excited to, you know, sort of speak to all the young people that are on this call. And you know, I think that these are really times where, you know, the future seems a little bit daunting because nobody really knows what's going on, and nobody really knows, you know, sort of what's happening. And I think that in these type of times, this is really the time to reflect, the time to sort of invest in yourself, the time to really think, you know, about what it is that you actually want to do with your life, right? And I think that, you know, as a young person, it's always really, really hard because you have so many different influences. You have your parents sort of telling you, oh, this is what you should be doing. You have society telling you sometimes what you should be doing. You have all these sort of, you know, I don't know, like a cast that, you know, it's like, okay, this is how we should progress, right? We should go to school, we should do this, we should do that. And I think that sometimes that also just pushes us to, you know, sort of make decisions that we're not necessarily super excited about, but we continue to do them. Earlier this week, I reviewed a book that's coming out in a couple of weeks, and it focuses on passion, basically being not necessarily being passionate about what you do, but sort of putting in the best at what you do. And on my journey, you know, I've had, I guess, the privilege to do a lot of stuff that I really, really love to do. But then I've also had a lot of stuff I enjoy that much. But what I've learned is that those times that I didn't really enjoy as much were the times where I actually learned the biggest lessons, right? And I'll give some examples. So when I was 16, I had this idea that I wanted to buy a car and my parents wouldn't buy one for me. So I decided that I have to figure out how to buy a car for myself, right? I didn't have a driver's license, but I mean, minor details, right? And I basically, you know, called, so my mom is German, and we used to spend summers with my grandmom. So I called one of my friends in Germany and I said, look, I need a job. I'm gonna be there for 8 weeks. So you need to find me a job, and this is how much money I need to earn within this time frame. I also had, my grandmom had put together a savings account for us when we were babies, and she put in money every birthday, every Christmas, every Easter. So I knew that, okay, I have a little bit of money there. Obviously I can't take all of it because I still need some later for university and stuff like that. But I then basically arrived in Germany and my friend was like, okay, I've got you this job. I said, okay, what is it? And she's like, it's washing dishes. And I washed dishes for 8 weeks in a restaurant, and, you know, sort of like I mean, it's like a proper, you know, like they have like dishwashers, they have, you know, you have to wear like your gloves, you have to, you know, like use hot water to sort of wash out all the oily dishes from roasts and stuff like that. So it's like not the nicest job in the world, but you know, up till today, it is one of my favorite jobs. And the reason is this: it taught me that when you have a goal, it doesn't really matter how you know, what you have to do to get there, right? As long as it's not illegal or degrading, right? And it taught me that there's a lot of satisfaction of, you know, sort of knowing that you've done this on your own and you've been able to actually get through this, right? And I had to, you know, so the job was like 3 kilometers from my grandmom's house. I had to ride my bike there, and then, you know, stand for 8 hours and ride my bike back. And, you know, after a while, I just felt like, oh my God, I'm not gonna make this. I'm gonna actually just faint one day. All my friends, you know, were, you know, they would go hang out, go to the, you know, swimming pool or go to the lake, while, you know, I'm like, well, I'm working. And I didn't have much of a summer that summer, you know, because I was working. And I realized that, you know, sometimes when you have a goal, there's sacrifice that is involved with it, right? And the sacrifice is for a season. It's not forever, right? But it always pays off, right? So when I came back after the holidays, you know, I had my money for my car. My sister added some from her savings as well. She was too young to work at the time, so she added some from her savings as well. And then so we went back and we were like, okay, parents, we have the money, we're ready. But the deal is, you guys need to, when we have this car, you have to pay for the mechanic fees and you have to fuel it. So my dad was, you know, he was just like, okay, fine, you know, we'll do that. And so we got a little hatchback Toyota Corolla. It was red. And, you know, up till today, when I see that car on the road, which is very rare, obviously, because it's super old, but when I see it, you know, it brings back so much joy and so much memories. And, you know, that was sort of one of the big milestones of achievement, right? And the biggest lesson I took away from that is that hard work always pays off. And you will always see results from, you know, working hard. And I think that that lesson is one lesson that I sort of took with me on my journey, right? So I went to university 2 years after that, and I studied bioinformatics. Bioinformatics is a double major in computer science and biology. And, you know, while I was studying, I was working as well. And so maybe I'll rewind a little bit to before I even started university and sort of talk about, you know, what happened before university and how I got this job while I was in university. So part of my application process for university was to do an internship. And because I was studying bioinformatics, it had to be an internship in, you know, in a research institute or in a bioinformatics department in a big pharma company. Now, at the time, that course, there were only 10 universities that were offering it in Germany. It was really, really new. You know, like when I eventually got to university, my year was the second year of actually studying this course. So it was, you know, cutting edge and everything. So I was here in Lagos and I was just like, okay, how do I get an internship? So I used my dial-up connection back then, where you used to use your NITEL line to connect to the internet. And, you know, I started searching and I found, and it had to be near my grandmom's house so that I could actually get there, right? So I found an institute for tropical medicine and they had a bioinformatics department. So I you know, sort of sent an email there and applied to an internship that didn't exist, by the way. And I said, hey, I need this, you know, internship for, you know, my university application, and I have to do this for 6 weeks in order to apply. So the professor there, for whatever reason, you know, I guess was intrigued. Who is this, you know, young child from Africa that, you know, wants to come to this research institute and do this internship? And, you know, I got there, eventually, you know, it all worked out. He said yes, so, but it wasn't paid. So, you know, I said, fine, I can transport myself there. I can buy my own food. It's okay. My parents will cover that. So I went there and, you know, for 6 weeks I was working. And, you know, like as an intern, you do all the crappy work and you do, you know, stuff that is way over your head because you really have no clue, right? You have to remember, this is an internship I was doing straight out of secondary school. You know, in a research institute that was doing research that was way over my head, right? But one thing that I had as a skill that the other people there didn't have was that I spoke fluent English and German. So I could translate all their research work into English for the publications that they were, you know, putting together. And you know, so I did that, and by doing the translations, I obviously also learned more about the processes. I learned more about, you know, the actual work that they were doing, the actual science behind it. So it was really, really a great learning opportunity. And, you know, I worked very, very hard. I gave it 150%, you know, and when I was done with the internship, you know, the professor said, hey, do you want to add another 6 weeks because you still have time before you go to university? This time we're actually going to pay you for it because we think you've done really, really good work. So I was super excited, you know, because there's nothing more than sort of being recognized for the work that you've, you know, done. And I then basically, you know, took this paid internship, which was obviously much better than a free internship. I was still doing exactly the same thing, but, you know, just being able to know that you're going to have money after this, you know, that was absolutely amazing. Now, when I finished the paid internship, you know, by that time I had chosen the university I was going to go to. So the professor asked me like, okay, do you know where you're going to go? And I said, well, I'm going to Munich. I'm going to study at the Ludwig Maximilian University in Munich. And he was like, oh, okay, call me in November. So this was maybe like August or so. School in Germany starts in September. So he says, call me in November. I have a job for you. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah. I'm being transferred to a research institute in Munich. And, you know, I have a position for a student intern. So if you want that position, call me in November. So I did. And that's how I got my job. And, you know, the reason why I bring this story up is because this story, number one, demonstrates that hard work is rewarded with more hard work, but also recognition. The second thing that the story also teaches you is that you don't know what opportunities are in front of you. So if you don't give the current situation that you're in 150%, you will be unable to unlock the future, right? And I will tell you how much I unlocked with this internship. You know, so I got this student job and you know, I got there and I said, okay, hey, what do you want me to do? And he says, well, you need to program. And I said, well, I'm in my first semester. Programming is in the third semester. And he started laughing. He's like, yeah, I know. He's like, but you still have to program. So I'm going to give you money. You're going to go and buy books. And then you're going to read the books. And I'm going to give you like 3 months, 12 weeks. go learn how to write Java code. This is what we need to be able to build at the end of, sort of like when you finish learning, you need to be able to build this. So for 3 months, I was
that break oil.
Sorry,
That
can you?
oil. That thing wey we say you do. Maybe say that oil no go dey leak comot. Now that oil no dey dey there again.
Tony, can you mute everybody, please?
Okay. So I basically okay, I was muted as well, but I'm unmuted now. So I basically was paid for 3 months to learn how to code on my own, right? While I was studying full time, and I would go to work after class and, just go read and try and code and try and figure stuff out, and read online forums and, just like really practice on my own. And try and figure out, okay, this thing that he wants me to build, I don't even understand the science behind it, because it was the Department for Statistical Genetics, right, at a research institute that was doing research into anxiety disorders and depression. So it was, sort of like really high level stuff. And he wanted me to write code that could sort of find specific sequences in the genome, right? So they had lots of DNA and they needed to find specific sequences. And he wanted me to be able to do that. And I was just like, okay, I'm not really sure how this would work, right? Because I didn't understand the science behind it. I didn't understand, sort of the programming, but I decided that I can do this and I'm going to do this, and, I'll figure it out somehow. And I did. And, the beautiful thing is that this student job, which I had for 2 years, sort of unlocked even more opportunities. So students work there for 2 years if they have to do a full-time job, so they usually don't do that. So I worked there for 2 years, and then the director of the institute had founded a company, a pharmaceutical company that was basically using the research from the institute to create a drug for depression and anxiety disorders. And it was in the same building as our institute, and my boss then says, you know what, you need to go downstairs and ask for Marcus. I said, okay, what do I ask Marcus? He said, just go. And I went, and when I got there, I asked for Marcus, and, I met this man who I'd met before, because he also sort of worked between the institute and the research company. And then he, sort of said, okay, so, what kind of computer are you going to need? And, like, do you need anything else? And I was just like, what are you talking about? And he said, yeah, but you're coming to start here next month, right? And I'm like, what? He's like, oh, your boss didn't tell you? You have a new job. So I basically started this new job. And this new job I did until after I graduated and until I even started my company. And I continued to do even after I moved back to Nigeria remotely, right? So that one internship and doing good work and working hard and showing that, any challenge is a challenge that you're willing to take, right? Opened so many doors, because it opened the doors of a student job. It opened the doors of another job afterwards, right? And my time at that institute, I published one paper in my actual, with me being the first author of the paper. And I was sort of like a co-publisher of multiple other scientific papers that were published in global scientific journals. These are opportunities that my classmates did not have, right? Opportunities that I had to consistently work hard for. Did that mean that I had less free time? Yes, because I was doing school full time. Did that mean that, I had to work really, really hard? Yes, all the time, right? But I think that the biggest lesson here for me was that you do not know the power of one person in your life, right? And how one person can continuously unlock opportunities for you. Which means that whoever you meet, you really need to, you know, don't underestimate what they can do for you, right? How many doors they can unlock for you. And the second lesson is, if you don't give 150%, you won't unlock those opportunities, right? If I just came to the internship and was just like, okay, well, I'm here, you know, let me just, I don't know, lay around and, you know, wait for the 6 weeks to be over, all those other opportunities would never have been unlocked, right? And I often, you know, after university sort of said to my parents that, you know, that I didn't learn anything in university. And, you know, they used to get very angry with me because they were like, how can you say that? You know, you have younger sisters and brothers, sisters, and, you know, they look up to you, and your cousins, you know, all of them look up to you, and you're here saying such nonsense. And I said, well, the truth is that I learned everything that I know doing my job. And the university education was just extra, right? For me, it was at the end, it was really about just get your certificate, but the knowledge and the experience and the actual skills were skills that I got from doing my job, right? So that for me is another lesson. And I tell all young people, when you are in university, it is not the time to not work, right? When you're in university, the thing that you should really focus on, even if it's just a summer job, right? Summer is still 2 months or so, right? It's 8 weeks. It's a long time. It's a time that you can actually use to actually work, and you can use that time to really, really hone your skills and develop your skills and actually understand how a working environment works, right? How to conduct yourself in a working environment. You will learn discipline, because going to work requires discipline. You will understand how to take criticism and feedback, because these are all skills that you do not learn in university, right? In university, they mark your paper, they say, yes, right or wrong. Okay, you got it wrong, then you go and practice more and you learn, and maybe you can get it right, maybe you can't. But at the end of the day, you know, what you learn in a job is someone telling you, I'm not going to give you the answer. You need to figure this out by yourself, but you're, you know, like, maybe you should adjust your thinking, or you need to do this, or you need to do that. And, you know, I think that when we decide that, oh, you know, university is all that we need and we really don't want to work, you know, and a lot of Nigerian parents sort of amplify this narrative as well. Ah, no, why should my child be working? No, it's okay. Let them just, you know, wait until they finish university. Let them focus on their books. The truth is that in the 21st century, in the world that we live in now, anyone who comes into the job market with experience is worth more than a person who comes without. One of my team members, you know, he's been with me almost 5 years. It's going to be 5 years in October. And he, you know, when he first came to interview, you know, he was this young boy, you know, he had his secondary school certificate, and, you know, he hadn't gone to university. But, you know, when I looked at his CV, he had more experience than all the staff that were working for me at the time. And I was just like, this is somewhat crazy. And, you know, when I talked to him, I could see, all I could see was potential, right? And, you know, then I asked him, I'm like, okay, so do you still want to go to university? And I said, yes, he does that. You know, he's looking to apply and blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, I'm actually looking for someone who will stay with me longer. So at this point, I'm not going to hire you. I can't remember really what happened, but at some point there was something kept telling me, call this boy back, you know. And at some point we actually did, right? And I said, okay, well, even if you're here for a year, it's fine. You know, at least you'll learn something. You have so much experience already. You know, you'll really add value. Fast forward 5 years, he's still here. He still hasn't gone to university, but guess what? The knowledge and the skills that that boy has outweighs anyone that has a degree in my current organization, right? Because he has hunger, he has fire, he has, you know, that willingness to actually learn, right? And he guzzles up knowledge. Anything, any challenge you throw at him, you know, he doesn't mind working late, he doesn't mind working on weekends, he doesn't mind, you know, putting in extra hours. He reads, he writes. I mean, it's just really, really amazing, you know. And he has, you know, been able to really, really learn so much, you know. And this doesn't say never go to university, right? University is a great thing because it actually allows you to learn how to think in a very structured manner. But, you know, what it does say is that skills and education are two very separate things. And we must understand that. And in, you know, and in future, when we talk about the future of work, what is important are skills, experience, and not education, right? So it's really, really important that we actually invest. You know, if we're getting an education, great, continue to get your education, but invest in your skills, right? Invest in that knowledge that you can monetize. Because the truth is that if you are not able to monetize your knowledge, right? So you get an education, but what do you do with that, right? Not much. You come out and you're like, hey, I know how to solve an algorithm, or I know how to, you know, create some type of equation, but how is that applicable in the workspace? Usually not much at all, right? And this is not only in the Nigerian system, right? As I said, I studied in Germany, and again, I didn't really feel that the knowledge that I gained in university was, you know, really that valuable. What it did help me to do is to think like a scientist, right? It taught me theory, but the practical stuff that you actually need in the day-to-day, you learn that on the job, right? And it's the same with every other job. You learn everything that you need to know on the job. And yes, you need to still, you know, maybe get some additional certificates, you need to get some additional knowledge, but at the end of the day, there are many ways to gain that knowledge. And, you know, I remember one of my staff members, she once asked me, she's like, okay, can you tell me what certificates you have? So I can go and get the same ones. And I started laughing. And she's like, Ma, I'm serious. Why are you laughing? It's not funny. And I continued to laugh because I said to her, I said, you know, I have one. And this is a certificate in network engineering that my dad thought I should do after I graduated from university. So as you know, I'm not a network engineer, so it's completely useless to me. And she's like, but you know so much. I said, yes, do not confuse knowledge and certificates, right? Knowledge and education are two completely different things. There are many people who have 5 million certificates. Do they know anything? Some of them don't, right? And I think that we need to stop being so hung up on paper qualifications, because less and less employers are actually looking at those paper qualifications. More and more employers are looking at the actual skills and the actual experience that you have. And we look beyond just experience of, okay, have you had a job before, right? I look at, what do you do with your spare time, right? Do you have any volunteering experience? Do you do any work that, you know, helps your community? Do you have anything that you're really passionate about, right? Whether it's music or art or whatever it is, or sports, but you must have something that sort of shows me, you know, your character, and that you can commit to something, and that you have a personality, right? Because those things are much more important for me, because you need organization before you can even sort of come in, right? So I think for me, what I'm trying to say with all of this is that there is education, and then there's knowledge, and there's skills, and then there's experience, right? A well-rounded candidate for any type of job or any type of opportunity requires all, not just one, right? So it's really, really important. And it's the same thing with entrepreneurship, right? In entrepreneurship, you will actually realize that when you start your own business, it's actually much harder than, you know, sort of doing a job. And, you know, I can say that because I've done both. I've had a job, and I've started my own business, and I've been able to grow that business over time as well. So let's go back. So I went to university, finished university, and then I came back to Nigeria to do my NYSC. So while I was doing my NYSC, I worked in a company here that focused on recruitment, and I helped them design and build an online recruitment portal. And I mean, this was in 2006, right? So this was extremely cutting edge at the time. You know, it was, you know, sort of like nobody was doing what I was doing. And, you know, all my friends were like, don't you want to go into banking? You know, or oil and gas, you know, like, and that was the time when they were writing all those assessment tests, and, you know, like hundreds of thousands of students would go and queue and, you know, try and write those tests in big halls and, you know, try and get into those jobs because those jobs were paying so well. The funny thing is that I was earning the same as them, doing something completely different. You know, because I knew my worth. So when I negotiated, I said, well, this is how much I want to earn. And on the side, I was still working my job in Germany, which I had cut down to 4 hours a day. So when I finish work, I'll go home, eat dinner, and go back to work, right? And, you know, Elon Musk once said, he says that, you know, if you work, I think he said like something like 100 hours a week, in 6 months, you've worked an entire year of what everybody else is working, right? Which means that you also make the progress. So within a year, you've worked what people work for 2 years. So it is inevitable that you're going to make more progress than other people, right? And I think that that work ethic that I sort of established at a very young age, you know, sort of just kept me going. And, you know, after I finished my NYSC, I decided to start my own company. And, you know, at the time I was 25, I was just like, okay, well, you know, if this goes wrong, it goes wrong. If it goes right, it goes right. And, you know, we're here today, 12 years later. It obviously went right in many ways. But, you know, what a lot of people, you know, sort of don't know is that while I started my own business, I was still working this job in Germany for 2 years, right? And that was my income. At the beginning, the company didn't really make enough money to pay me, right? Especially not for sort of like the lifestyle and the money that I had already sort of been accustomed to for myself, right? So I had to figure out, okay, how do you do both? So I continued to working those 4 hours for the company in Germany and continue to use the rest of my time to build my business. And you know, it was a field that not many people, you know, were into at the time. So the reason why I started my business was because I was so frustrated at not being able to find stuff on Google. And, you know, I decided that, you know, Nigerian businesses have to come on the map, and we have to, you know, sort of I need to do something to put them online so that I can find them, because, you know, I was sick and tired of having to ask friends, oh, hey, where can I find a dry cleaner, or where can I find a spa or a restaurant or something, right? So there were 2 ways of doing this. So either I would build a directory, or the other way was to basically just open a web development company and just individually put businesses on the map. I opted for the latter, so I founded a company called FutureSoft, which funny enough, my dad had actually incorporated when I was just finishing secondary school. So my dad, finishing secondary school, and signed this paper. What am I signing? You know, when you're young and you're just irritated with your parents and you're just like, oh God, this person has just come with these weird ideas and I don't even understand what you're talking about. But I signed, and, you know, I was the director in this company, and, you know, but I mean, it was just, to me, it was just paper, right? It didn't mean anything. And he kept saying, this is your company, right? So when you're ready, you can have it. And he did something really amazing. You know, he had his own technology company. So he would use this other company that he registered for me on the side, and he would, you know, sort of do some smaller projects with it. So it had track record. So by the time I came out of university, that company, you know, and I did my NYC, that company had like 5 years of track record. And, you know, it had a portfolio. It had done government jobs. It had done all sorts. And, you know, that was suddenly my company. And, you know, I said, you know, like I said to so first my dad said, oh, I should come and work with him. And I said, no, Dad, we'll fight all the time. Let me do my own thing. Then he said, okay, do you want this company? This, like, he said, there's no money in the account, but you know, like, you have the paper and there's a bank account set up. I said, okay, I'll take this company. And, you know, at least then I don't have to go through CAC registration and all of those different things. So at the end of the day, I, sort of took this company and relaunched it, with a completely different focus of what he had been doing. But that track record still helped, with us getting jobs in the future. So I think for parents, that's also a lesson to figure out ways to really invest in your children, and up till today, my dad is really my biggest cheerleader and promoter. And, he's constantly pushing me, constantly singing my praises, constantly connecting me with opportunities, and constantly, sort of pushing me in the right direction. And I think that that's really, an amazing thing that any parent can do for their children, right? So going back to, so I started this business and I was still working on the side, and, I mean, web development in 2006 was just not popular. It was, like hardly anyone understood it. Most of the companies were still run by, sort of really old men at the time, so I would come there and be like, oh, sir, I want to build a website for you. And, I remember one man said to me, my dear, I've been making money since before you were born. So what is this website going to do for me? And, when you're so taken aback by a question that you just simply have no answer. So I said, sorry, sir, okay, let me pack my load and go, right? And that's how I left. And, but instead of sort of getting, I don't know, depressed by that or figuring, thinking, okay, there is no market, I knew that there is a market for technology and it's just going to take time. And I sort of changed my approach, and my approach became more educational than sort of trying to sell. So I would go in there and, just talk about, websites and how they work and how, they unlock, global opportunities and global visibility. And, it usually would take 2 or 3 meetings of actually going there and talking and, sort of showing people what it could look like, and going in there with visuals of their websites. When people can see stuff, then they get excited. And, just changing that approach to my selling strategy really helped me sort of unlock my first couple of clients, right? And then I had, sort of like clients that I could use as reference points, because before that I didn't really have a web development portfolio, because the work that I've been doing was sort of back-end programming for pharmaceutical companies, which was very different. But I had a friend who was in the US, and he had a web development company on the side as well. So he was working for the US government, but had this company on the side. And, we grew up together. So we've known each other since we were 4. And, he was like, you know what, I'll send you my portfolio, just use that. And, you can say that this is a company that you were working with before, and these are projects that you've done. And, they can go online and check out the quality of the work that you can do. So I did that. And that really helped, just being able to show people that, okay, this is the type of quality of work, and that you've worked with, a foreign company and things like that. And yes, it wasn't all true, but at the end of the day, I knew I could deliver that exact type of work, right? And, one of the lessons that I had learned from my first boss in Nigeria was, he kept saying to me, he said, Nkem, you got to fake it till you make it. And, and that really stayed with me, because, I feel like a lot of the time we sort of don't think we're ready for opportunities. We think that, oh, this is too big for me, or, I'm not really qualified for this, or I'm not ready. And the truth is that you may not be, but no one else is either. The other people just know how to package. The other people just are bolder than you, and they will go and take those opportunities, even though you may be the better candidate for that opportunity. So it's really important to understand your value, and to understand that with hard work, even if they say you're the president of Nigeria today, you will figure it out, right? And you will, as long as you're willing to work hard, and as long as you're willing to have a growth mindset, and you have a, sort of like focus on achieving, then impossible is really nothing. So you know, that was, you know, a really great sort of learning curve, those early years of my company, Futuresoft. And, you know, I was a one-man band. I was the accountant, I was the lawyer, I was, you know, the chief operating officer. I was working from my parents' house, you know, because I refused to spend my money on an office. I just didn't understand why you had to have an office, right? And, you know, a lot of people were like, but Nkem, this is like crazy. Like, how can you not have an office? You must have an office. And I said, why? I earn money every month in my job in Germany. I don't have an office. They don't expect me to have an office, and I still earn. So why must I have an office for who is coming to this office? Is it just for me to have a place to go? And then, you know, because all the clients expect you to come to them anyway, because who are you? You're this small web developer who nobody knows. So nobody's going to come to your office, you know? So you know, my dad was like, okay, come and take a desk in my own office. I said, no, Dad, it's okay. I'm here at home. It's okay. I don't need a desk. I'm fine. You know, and my parents didn't understand it, you know, for the longest time. You know, my mom would call me. She's like, hey, can you wash the clothes? And can you, you know, cook some food? And I'm like, Mom, I'm working. She's like, well, you're at home. I said, Mommy, I don't think that you actually understand how hard I am working right now. I don't have time to wash the clothes or do this or do that. So I can do it in the night. I'm not going to do it now, you know. And, you know, then she would get angry. Like, I say, yes, I've called the electrician to come and fix something. You have to supervise. I'm like, no, I am in the middle of my work. I cannot do all of these things. And, you know, this is, to me, it's really funny because now with this pandemic, my mom is actually working from home, and she's working in the old office that I had set up at home. You know, and maybe I should call her and be like, hey, Mom, can you wash some dishes? You know, but, you know, it took a really long time for my parents to really understand that I was actually building a company, and that I was actually, you know, not playing, and that I was, you know, earning money. And even though it wasn't the conventional path that everybody else was going, most of my friends were working in the telcos, in the banks, in the oil and gas companies, you know. In fact, I don't think I had any friends that started their own business. You know, and a lot of the time, you know, when you then talk to, you know, your friends, you know, they're talking about, you know, the next paycheck and, you know, stuff like that. And, you know, I was just like, well, my money comes when my money comes. I can't really predict, you know. The only money I could predict at the time was the money I was earning from my job in Germany, you know. And I'm so happy I didn't give that up, because that really allowed me to, you know, sort of experiment and not be under pressure. And it allowed me to really, you know, sort of focus on all the things I wanted to focus on, and experiment in so many ways. Anyway, so fast forward 12 years, you know, the path that I chose so early was a path that a lot of people, like I said, didn't understand. It was a path that was also maybe not really a path that even, you know, like, you know, when your parents go out and they're like, yes, my daughter works for MTN, or my daughter works for Zenith Bank, right? That was, you know, when they asked you, what does your daughter do? She has her own company, you know. So my dad, you know, I think my dad was the only one that really, you know, sort of understood what I was doing, because he did the same thing, right? He had built his own business, you know, so he would, you know, always tell my mom, leave her alone. And then my mom was like, don't you want to go and do your master's? I'm like, no, what do I need a master's for? So, you know, like, again, parents, you know, and people and society have many different ideas for how you should live your life, for the path that you should take, and for, you know, what is perceived as normal. Yeah, my mom is not even Nigerian. That's the funniest thing about it, right? She's German, still acting like a real Nigerian parent. But yeah, so you know, the path that you you know, choose, just know, you know, like, it's okay to choose a path that is uncommon, to do things differently, because things can still come out really well for you, right? you know, when I started my company, my best friend said, are you really sure that this is what you want to do? And I said to her, I said, look, I want to be the kind of mom that can be at every single soccer game. I said, I want to be the kind of mom that can be at every single recital and school tea party and all sorts of nonsense that is going to come up. Do you think I can do that if I work in a bank? Surely not. I said, I want to be able to be home to say goodnight to my kids or a kid or whatever. And I'm not going to be able to do that if I work in corporate in Nigeria, because then you would probably get home at 10 p.m., right? I said, I want to control my time. And this is why I'm doing this. And if it fails, I said, I can still go get a job. I'll always be able to get a job. You know, and the funny thing is that when I had my son and he started school, you know, and, you know, they would have all these weird activities at like 10 in the morning, you know, my best friend reminded me of what I said so many years ago. And she said, you know, you got everything that you asked for. And she said, you know, now you have that freedom that many other people don't have, and they have to pick and choose what events they can participate at in school. They, you know, you don't have to choose because you can really do whatever you want. You can go do your nails on a Monday morning if that's what you feel like. You can, you know, wake up late if you like. You can, you know, sleep in if you like. So entrepreneurship is really, you know, they say it's doing things that nobody wants to do for a short time of your life so that you can do things that nobody else can for the rest of your life, right? Because it gives you a very different level of freedom. And yes, it has a lot of what's it called? Sort of ups and downs. Entrepreneurship is like a roller coaster, right? It is really, really, I don't know. I was talking to Tara from House of Tara, and she says, you know, when you do entrepreneurship for 10 years, you know that you're not normal. When you do entrepreneurship for almost 20 years, like her, she said, you have guaranteed that you're not normal. And I sort of agree, because only a crazy person would, you know, sort of embark on this journey. But on the other hand, it is so rewarding, and, you know, really, it's been an amazing journey. I've met so many amazing people that I don't think I would have met. I've gotten so many opportunities, you know, internationally and locally to speak at different events and conferences, to share my knowledge, to, you know, impact young people, to mentor young people, to, you know, sort of guide them on their way, you know, and all of that is from, you know, this little girl that left secondary school to go and do an internship. And, you know, when I look back and, you know, I look at a lot, you know, sort of like how many lives I've, you know, been able to touch in sometimes very small ways, right? It just makes me so happy, because, you know, when I always say that what I want to do with my life is leave a legacy, right? And the legacy is that I have touched lives, and that I have impacted people, and that I have been able to change people, and that I've been able to touch people's lives, right? And in my mind, that is not a function of, oh, okay, maybe you can pay for somebody to do a course or whatever. No, a lot of it is just in advice, in, you know, pointing people in the right direction. And, you know, Mrs. Balogun, you said, what do you expect from a mentor, right? A mentor is not somebody that tells you what to do. A mentor is not somebody that, you know, says, oh, you should do this or you should do that. No, you figure it out yourself. The mentor is your sounding board, right? The mentor is someone who will listen to you, who will, you know, sort of ask you a lot of questions so that you can find your own answers, right? They can give you advice, but they will never tell you this is how you should do it or what you should do, right? You know, so the mentoring relationship is something that, you know, is really, it's very personal and very precious. And if you are lucky enough to really find someone who would mentor you, it's just amazing and really, really powerful. And people is for everybody, right? So I sit on the board of Stanbic IBTC, and our board has a reverse mentoring program, and that means that young people that work in technology in the bank mentor the board members, right? Because a lot of the board members don't have the digital skills that are required, right? And so anyone can be a mentor. Is that what lesson of that is, right? And as a second thing, as long as you have the right type of skill set, the right type of exposure, the right type of knowledge, right? And I think that everybody should find, a mentor. Now, sometimes, I speak at a lot of places, and a lot of people come and they're like, will you be my mentor? And that's not really how mentee relationships are formed, right? And I always tell people that, even though I do a lot of mentoring, most of my mentoring is group mentoring. I don't really do individual mentoring because it's simply too time consuming. And that also you have to, as a mentee, come with, this is what I want out of this, and this is why I want you to be my mentor. Not just, oh, I saw you speak, you look like a nice lady and you seem to be intelligent, and that's why I want you to be my mentor, right? A mentor is a very personal thing, and you need to find somebody that actually fits you and that will, be able to really guide you as you go along in your career, and as you progress on your journey, right? So I think that be very deliberate in how you sort of select your mentors. And you can have mentors that are indirect. I have many mentors. They don't know that they're my mentors, right? Because I've never formalized that relationship. But when I have questions, or I want to learn something, or I don't know what to do in a particular situation, I'll call them and, just be like, hey, can you just, help me look at this? Or can you talk to me about this? Or, like, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? And just sort of sound people out. And a lot of people, that I have sort of, in that capacity, they, are absolutely amazing. They always, pick up my calls, always have time for me, but they know that I'm not going to ask them to come and sit with me once a month, all the time, every day, and stuff like that, right? So it's informal relationships often are much easier to, sort of cultivate in the mentee-mentor, relationship. Simply because people that you want to be your mentors usually don't have a lot of time, right? And you also don't want it to become a burden, right? But if you, and that way also you are able to sort of cultivate these relationships with many, many different people, because every single person has a different skill set, a different perspective, a different set of experiences, a different type of knowledge, and can help you in many different areas of your life. One other thing that I would say is have a tribe, right? Have people around you that are aligned with your growth, right? That have a growth mindset, that focus on sort of the same things that you're focusing on, that are thirsty for knowledge, that are learning all the time, people who are growing and, that are also working really, really hard, and that are making so much progress that you seem like, the person who's going to come last in class, right? Those are the people that you need to surround yourself with, and you need to constantly, work hard so that you can live up to where they are, so that you can, and at some point you will get as good as they are. That's just how it works, right? And then you look for new people that are even better, and you continue to surround yourself with people that push you, people that, bring out that competitive spirit in you. And, they say iron sharpens iron, right? And that's really what it is when you surround yourself with those type of people, and you have a tribe that does that for you, right? And, I have many friends that are, doing absolutely amazing things, and I'm always, sort of like, oh, wow, look at what, this person has done, and look at what that person has done, and, on the other hand, they will then tell me, but Nkem, you inspire us so much. And I'm like, really? But you're doing all this amazing stuff. I want to do that stuff too, right? And then you can, ask people like, okay, how did you get into this position? How were you able to navigate this? How were you able to navigate that, right? And it's so important. So, for example, when I got approached for the board position, you know, I mean, I was so scared. I was just like, you have to go for this board interview, and, you know, like, what are you even going to say? You know, and one of my friends, who she's a CEO of a PLC company, and, you know, she was like, oh, but why were you scared? You know, like, you've got this, like, you're so, you know, like, you know your stuff. And I said, Debs, you know, you've gone to many interviews because you're employed. I said, I've not gone to any interview because all my jobs were handed to me on a platter. I have never interviewed, not once, right? So I don't have this experience. I said, the only experience I have sort of going into those type of board meeting settings is where I'm in control, where I'm going into pitch. I know what I'm going to present. I know what the questions are going to be. I have the answers. I know how I'm going to negotiate. I know what my strategy is. I said, this is completely uncharted waters, right? I have no clue. You know, I don't know anything about banking or anything. And I really needed, you know, people who are, you know, really close to me, and, you know, that I told about this opportunity, and they were like, you will be okay. So one of my friends said to me, he said, look, I know you're an Ifiko, and if you don't know something, you just need to go and learn. He said, go and read you know, you have 1 week, go and read the annual reports of this, you know, bank, and, you know, study them. I said, okay. So I did that. I had notes, like 10 pages of notes that I took into this interview. I had done research into the future of banking. I had done, you know, sort of looked at all the different, you know, I got one of my friends to send me questions that they ask their board members when they interview for boards. I, you know, called another lady who also, she's, you know, like my Egbon, and, you know, my also informal mentor. She doesn't know. So I called her and I'm like, look, I'm literally shaking in my boots, and this thing is in a couple of days. I don't know how. I'm, you know, I'm just gonna fail this thing. And, you know, she talked to me for 30 minutes, and, you know, she said, look, half the time, you know, when they've called you, they've already made up their mind. This is just formality. They really just want to know whether you're a good fit. You're a good fit on paper, so they want to confirm that you're a good fit in person. She's like, Nkem, you're warm, you're nice, you're friendly, and you know your stuff, you're intelligent, you can do this, right? And, you know, these words were really, really helpful to me, you know. And the thing is that my sisters had said exactly the same thing to me. And, you know, I was just like, please, 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 what do you people know? Like, this is your job to say this, you know. So when it came from another person who, she didn't have to, you know, say those words, you know, it just made such a difference. And I had another friend who working firm, and she said, come sit with me. I'll show you how to read all these bank financial statements. I'll show you competitor reports so that you have background. You can then say, this is what, you know, you can come in with a strategy. And that's what I did. And all of those things prepared me, you know, for that interview. And the interview ended up being lots of fun. You know, it was more like a conversation. It was fun. It was really, really great. And, you know, the rest is history. So they say, and, you know, but it took, you know, that tribe and those people around me that, you know, really pushed me and got me ready for that opportunity, you know. So I think that will be sort of how I'm going to close, have a tribe, right? So I think I'll just sort of recap, you know, the key learning aspects. So the first one I would say is invest in your knowledge, invest in experience, invest in your skills, right? Ensure that you always work hard. Hard work will always pay off in so many different ways, right? The next thing is that there is a big difference between an education and actual knowledge and experience. And, you know, employers today are looking for a total package. They're not looking for either or. They're looking for everything, right? Including charity work and how much you care about orphans and different things, right? Another thing is that don't underestimate how much one person can actually influence your life. And then the last thing I would say is, you know, you have to, you know, really, really be confident in the path that you have chosen and understand that that path is maybe not the common path, but it will still get you to a beautiful destination as long as you're ready to really put in the hard work. Surround yourself with people that will push you, that will support you, that will be your cheerleaders, people who will guide you, people who will mentor you, and, you know, just have fun on your journey. Thank you.
Fantastic. 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 Really good. Really, really good. You know, people look at people and say, oh, she's been lucky. Isn't she lucky? They didn't know you were working when you were 16 just so you could buy yourself a car. And the truth about it, I think one of the things we can take away is that we should always dream big. Don't ever allow yourself to be boxed in by small thinking.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't even drive, and yet you wanted a car, you know? And then the fact that it's like, I want to do this, I can do this, I'm not going to let anybody. We're always in such shock, recruitment consultants, when you see a 24-year-old who's never worked before, and you're thinking, you know, each of my children, Ibiyemi worked in a bakery and left the place at the age of, 15, with more respect for bread than she had before. You know, each one of them has worked. And the littlest one, who's 17 now, is sort of antsy. She wants to work. Okay, she's actually worked before even, you know, because it's important. No matter what it is you're doing, it doesn't have to be anything. And you see, the reason I'm saying this is because there are a lot of parents on this call, right, who hopefully are listening for their children, you know, to say that, look, you just have to be really encouraging and don't mollycoddle these children, you know, and you have to be thinking in advance. Your father had incorporated a company and used it, and, you know, it was easy for you to just step into it. And can you imagine, in 2006, you were already doing what it is we're all doing now, staying at home and working, you know? So it's also always good to be ahead of the times. This is what we've gotten all day, that creativity and innovation. I think it was you who said it, that I heard say that the jobs in the next 5-10 years haven't even been created yet. You know, I think I heard you say that with the Ibukwa Woshika series or something,
yes,
you know, in December. You know, so you can't sit down with what you see. You know, you have to constantly think out of the box. You have to constantly say, Ibitude said earlier today that, oh, you must want to solve a problem. But you see, you can't just sit down and hope that things are going to fall in your lap. You know, you can't. You have to get out there. And then another thing you said that resonated was you have to work hard. So many people, they say, hey, no, you have to work smart. Yes, smart and hard. Smart and hard are not mutually exclusive. They go together, you know? So when you sit down and you're thinking, isn't she lucky? Oh, please, don't even tell us that. Because even what is luck?
No such thing as luck.
No, even what is luck? They say opportunity meeting preparedness, you know? If the opportunity comes up to you and you are not prepared and you can't do anything about it, then, you know, what are you going to do with the opportunity? You know, thank you so much. I mean, you've said so many things, and I'm happy that we're recording this. You know, we've had a challenge with people, you know, getting into Zoom. You know, my phone is sort of going crazy, but it's going to be on YouTube. And we're going to really try and make sure people go and watch, because it's important, even for, I mean, it's not just for the children, even for the parents to say, you know, when a child is sitting around for 8 weeks doing nothing, it's a sin. It's a sin, you know. I mean, find something for them to do. Let them come and work with you, and not just work with you, sort of like helping you do one thing or the other. Let them get dressed in the morning when we do go back to work. Or even come downstairs dressed in the morning and say, this is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to do. That is a job. Thank you so much. I don't know if there are any questions. Before you go, don't go yet. I just want to say we're going to have the breakout session soon. And it's finding new opportunities in finance, technology and your career, taking a leap, corporate to entrepreneurship, career planning, prospects of being a fitness nutritionist trainer, and navigating the new normal with your innate skills in marketing. So they're listed 1 to 5. So please just say which one you would like to attend so that the host can put you in a group for the breakout session, right? So now I want to ask you a question. You've done so much Nkem. What is the next thing to do?
The next thing. That's a very interesting question. So I have a couple of things I think on my list. One of them is to teach. And that's one of the things that I've been teaching a lot, so we've done a lot of executive courses around digital marketing and digital transformation, but we've done them sort of as Futuresoft and, and sort of pushed them out from our own umbrella. I'm basically currently exploring partnerships with training institutes, education, see how we can actually bring these courses into executive training and executive courses at renowned institutions in Africa, because I think that this is the time where executives really need to have, the right type of knowledge to navigate the digital landscape. And a lot of them, especially, on boards and C-level executives simply don't have the right type of skills at the moment. So that's one. Okay. Another one is doing work in policy. So I'm involved with the NESG. I'm involved with the ICT think tank that is sort of reviewing the digital economy blueprint. And, for me, policy is something that I'm really passionate about and, really looking to explore more in the future. And, so for me, that is sort of like probably the next phase of my life, but I think this is just like preparation for it. That phase, I don't know when exactly it will start, but it is definitely one of those sort of long-term goals to contribute to African policy, especially around technology.
I think besides policy, I think you should get into politics.
I'm not sure. So politics from a policy angle, yes, and not necessarily in a private sector role. It could be in a sort of public servant role. But I don't know. I wouldn't want to run for governor or president or any of those things. But I wouldn't run a ministerial position or something.
Yes. Not run for.
Yeah, I need to quickly grab my charger. If not, this laptop is going to die. 1 second, I'll be back.
Okay. Well, guys, it has been, I think, amazing so far. I just was going to say to Nkemdi that, we need to, in all of what we're doing, I think all of us also need to be looking about going into politics, not necessarily to run for office, but to understand what is going on there. Because sitting on the sidelines and having some silly people in government and then we complaining, we need the smart people in politics as well. Not necessarily to run for government, but to make sure that they vote. Sorry, I was just saying to people, I don't know if you heard that yes, I'm encouraging all of us to get involved in politics, not necessarily to run for office, but to understand what the landscape is, to understand what they're doing, to influence things that we want to do, and then to become minister, minister of technology. Not a bad thing, Nkemdi? What do you think? Yeah?
Yes, we're ready.
Because we can't be complaining, and there's no point us having this sort of thing, okay? And being in our own little corners, and then we're subject. We've had issues with electricity, this, that, and the other, data, and all of that, it boils down to the fact that we don't really have infrastructure. I'm so sorry, I don't know why I'm getting on a soapbox this afternoon. But I think that, it is something that we really, really need to consider. And then the final thing, you've told us about work-life balance. You did mention husband. Being female, running all of that, tell us, how do we handle Olga?
So I think that it's really, sort of finding the right partner, finding someone who understands who you are, and also, not necessarily rushing into marriage, right? So I have a staff, and she's, I think, 22 or something, and she's like, oh, I want to be married at 25. And I said to her, girl, I don't know what you think you're going to find there, but why are you rushing? What is this, what is going to, change if you get married at 29, for example, or 30? And then she was like, oh, but when did you get married? I said, I was 30 years old when I got married. And, and I'm actually happy that I was, that old. Sometimes I even think I should have been a bit older even, but I think that really it's about, sort of.
Some of us married when we were 25.
And I think that, I think that for this generation, a lot of things sort of have changed a little bit, and sort of the gender roles are shifting, right? And I think that we are actually the generation that sort of has the hardest battle, right? Because women like you, Mrs. Balogun, you've smashed those glass ceilings. You've shown us that we can fly, that we can be Supergirl, and that we can do whatever we want, right? And our parents, kept telling us that, like, yes, you can be whatever you want. You can be the president. You can be an astronaut. You can whatever, right? And we are living that now, right? But I think one area that, parents that were telling their girls, you can be, you can be, you can be, didn't really, sort of dig into was telling the boys that you must allow, right?
Yeah.
And you must support, and you also have to, step in, which means that you have to be part of childcare, you have to be part of, the household, or you have to be part of, whatever else it is that is seen as the woman's role, right? And I think we're actually lucky here in Africa, the fact that we can have help at an affordable rate. A lot of women in, the rest of the world do not have that luxury, right? So I have a friend, she's Nigerian, she lives in the US, and she spends almost all her money on paying her nanny, right? I think being able to have support systems is really, really key as well, in making sure that everything sort of runs when you're not there, so before this pandemic, I used to travel a lot, and my mom is an amazing part of my support system. My nanny is an amazing part of my support system. They make sure that, all the things that I would normally do, soccer practice, German class, he still goes when I'm not there, because, he has grandma who is, a real trooper, and always ready to jump in and take her little man wherever he needs to go. And like school runs, my husband and I split school runs, so we alternate our days. If I take him in the morning, my husband picks him up. If he takes him in the morning, I pick him up. So it, as they say, it takes a village, and I think that men just need to do more outside of that support system that you can build. And I think that also, it's important to sort of also understand that, okay, in as much as you, have all these big ambitions and all these, other sort of responsibilities that you also have. So you must find like some type of balance. And the truth is, or at least for me, I don't think that there is anything like balance, right? I don't think you can really have it all, at least not at the same time, right? So you can have a lot of stuff, but something will always give, right? So this is why, I was talking about there are seasons of hard work, right? There are seasons where you put in more hours. There are seasons where you have to go the extra mile. There are seasons where you have to, sort of dig deeper. But then there are also seasons where you can let go a little bit, where it's okay to relax, where it's okay to you know, spend more time, where it's okay to, you know, sort of, you know, do other things. So I think it's really about finding that type of, you know, balance, and finding I don't know, something that works for you, right? And again, you know, I think that society has ideas of, you know, what partnership or marriage should look like, and you know, you probably have ideas of how it should look like. Don't drive yourself crazy by the stereotypes that have been, you know, sort of plonked in your head at a very young age. And, you know, like now that my son is 4 and he's watching cartoons, and all of the cartoons are really skewed towards, you know, you find that true love, then you must get married. So him and his cousins are constantly talking about marriage. And I'm just like, you guys are 4 and 6, what's going on, right? But that just shows me like how much they actually prime children, right, with the programming that is going on. And in that same programming, so my son loves Princess Elena. So, and you know, one day I asked him, why do you like Princess Elena? And he said, because she has a sword. She's strong, right? So TV is actually creating, you know, that visual of those really, really strong, independent women. But, you know, I actually am a little, and this is maybe me digressing a little bit, but I'm actually a bit concerned of what that's doing to the boys, right? Because, so he one day asked me, Mama, can boys be doctors? And I said, yes, of course. And, you know, I said, why do you think you can't be a doctor? And he said, well, in Doc McStuffins, which is obviously his reference to doctors, there's only a doctor girl and there are no boys that are doctors. And so boys cannot be doctors. And I said, oh, no, you can be whatever you want, right? So I think, you know, we need to continuously, you know, sort of be conscious about this narrative that, you know, television programming is putting into young kids, because there is, again, this overemphasis on super strong women, and, you know, where's the super strong man that goes with that, right? And that's also why we have so many women who are like, I'm not even interested in marriage. All these guys are not serious, or this or that, right?
Yeah.
You know, and you know, like I always say to people, I'm very conscious about how I raise my son. Like, he needs to see a hardworking woman so that he's not afraid of that, right? And he needs to know that he can be better or equal, or, you know, and but that he has to help. And, you know, and he's constantly helping me. You know, the other day told me, Mom, I love sweeping. And I'm like, great, keep on loving sweeping, so that you can at some point, you know, when you're married, you know, and, you know, your wife is there sweeping, you can help her, you know, because I grew up seeing that. My dad is, you know, like, you can wake up and he has done all the housework, and, you know, a lot of people don't think that that's normal, right? And I had a lot of like my friends that would come over and they're like, won't you go and help your dad? He's sweeping. I said, no, he's fine. Don't worry. Like, if he wants you to sweep, he will call you. You will know that it's your time to do the work, right? And, you know, he only has girls. And, you know, I think like he did those things to show us that men must help. Men must, you know, play a particular role, you know, and I think that, you know, just having that guidance is really, really important. And, you know, my call to all young men is support whatever Superwoman wants to do, because at the end of the day, you benefit from a happy person, right? You benefit from a person who is living her full truth and her full, you know, authentic self, and who is, you know, who is growing and who is happy with what she's doing. You know, you don't benefit from someone that you try and make small, or that you, you know, sort of stunt her growth or try and push her into a particular role. You don't get the, you will never see her blossom into this amazing flower, and you see her full potential. So you have to support and you have to play a role. Actually, I think that a lot more young guys are, you know, sort of ready to have those conversations and to step into those roles, which is really, really exciting. So when I talk to like some of the guys in my office, you know, they are, you know, they're always like, well, but why would women have to give things up? Why would, you know, and they're asking those questions, right? Simply because they've seen strong women around them, and they have sisters who have dreams, and they have, you know, cousins who have dreams. So I think everybody, you know, needs to be able to live their full potential, and, you know, and it's really about finding someone who will walk that journey with you, and who will support you, and who will carry you when you need to be carried, who will, you know, simply be there, and who knows that, okay, now you have this project, you're not going to be available for, I don't know, 3 weeks, but, you know, it's okay, right? You're going to be back after that. And, you know, and the same way that they support you when you have that stuff going on is how you will support them when they have that stuff going on, you know, because I think men expect women to support, but then when it's the other way around, they're like, okay, I'm supposed to do the same for you. I'm like, yes, you are.
I know.
You know?
I remember many years ago, I needed to pick up my youngest, and I was saying to my husband, please, and he was like, then it suddenly occurred to me, what, please, how? Is she my daughter? Come on, my friend, come pick her up.
Exactly. And I think
that to the changing.
Yeah,
sure.
and I think sometimes those conversations, you know, like you as a woman, you always feel like, oh, maybe I should ask. But the truth is, no, this is your child. You too, you go and pick the child up, you know. So I mean, like when my son started school, I just made a calendar and I sent it to my husband by email, and I said, this is the calendar I have worked out that gives us, you know, is equally distributed in school pickup and drop-offs. And he was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is fine, it works, you know. But I know that if I didn't come up with that idea, it would have probably just been like, oh, today, no, I can't, I'm very busy. Oh, now it's like, no, you plan your day around, you know when your pickups are, you know when your drop-offs are, exactly. So you plan your day around those things and you figure it out, right? And obviously there will be times when, you know, like, okay, there's a meeting and you can't reschedule it, or, you know, it just pops up, and, you know, then you can ask the other person, hey, can you just step in today? Or you're traveling, you know, when he's in Abuja and I do schools, or sometimes I ask my dad because he lives really close. So I'm like, Dad, please, can you go and pick your grand? And he's like, yes. And he's so excited. He loves it, you know. So again, it takes a village. It takes a really big support system. And I think also it takes, you know, women not necessarily asking for permission, but just somehow saying, this is what I need. You know, a lot of the time the answer will be yes. As opposed to when you ask, sometimes when you ask, you're not really in a, you know, like you're in a position where they can say no. But when you say you need to because this is your child, then it's like, okay, well, yeah, you have a point. Okay, I will. Yeah.
Okay, Nkemdi, thank you so much. And definitely, like I said, we've conscripted you into the TTBI mentorship program, and you'll be hearing from us. And even, you know, other times to just come and talk about various different things. Thank you so much. Right?
Thank you.
I hope you hang around and just don't rush off. Great, guys. We've come to breakout session time.